Alright, Chapter 6 Tactical Petroleum Terminal, Section 1 Concept Primary Components. Today's mobile military forces require fuel supply system easily set up with a flexible fuel supply system must be able to hold large quantities of fuel. Older steel welded pipelines have them replaced with a new lightweight aluminum quick coupled inland petroleum distribution system. New system fuel storage now being used in inland petroleum distribution systems is the Tactical Petroleum Terminal shown in Figure 6.1, page 6.3. The Tactical Petroleum Terminal system replaces bolt welded steel bulk fuel tanks with lightweight collapsible fabric tanks with various capabilities. New tanks make them to be transported with minimal transportation assessment compared with the steel tanks of the past. They can be installed with a fraction of the time of the older system. Tactical Petroleum Terminal is a facility designed and packaged with a rapid reaction to almost any location. Recipient storage and suspension liquid terminals. Fuel can be received into the Tactical Petroleum Terminal. Pipeline tank vehicles, rail cars, tactical petroleum terminals can dispense fuel into the tank trucks and 5,000-gallon collapsible drums return fuel with a pipeline with a downstream distribution. Fuel can be disabled with a move to another location, return with an equipment storage facility. Tactical Petroleum Terminal can be used as the base for the terminal, receive the fuel from the ship to shore operation for distribution forward through the pipeline. Can also be used the head terminals at the end of the inland petroleum distribution system for fuel storage and further distribution forward to the tank vehicle hose line to nearby airfields. Primary components of the standard Tactical Petroleum Terminal is modular with the three identical fuel types. The standard Tactical Petroleum Terminal shown in Figure 6.2 and page 6.4. The total Tactical Petroleum Terminal is stored with a 77-foot, 20-foot ISO containers. A pipeline connection assembly will issue with the Tactical Petroleum Terminal connected into the pipeline. Primary components are discussed below. The fuel unit, each fuel unit consists of the tank fuel assembly with two 210,000-gallon collapsible fabric tanks. Each of the tank truck receipt for manifold fuel dispensing assembly with the transfer hose line assembly six fire suppression assemblies, optional tank configuration fuel unit support assembly with a total of 24 ISO containers are used with the storage unit fuel unit. Tanker farm assembly. The tanker farm assembly consists of the 10,000-gallon collapsible fabric tanks hose line pump associated with the hose valves, fittings, tanker truck, receipt manifold with a tanker truck with a receipt manifold consists of a hose line pump and associated equipment to provide for receiving the stations used to receive the fuel from commercial military tanker trucks. Fuel dispensing assembly. The assembly of the fuel directly to the bulk fuel tank trucks of 500 collapsible drums. Transfer hose line assembly. There are 15 500-foot hoses with the end of the flake with the three tricons. The tricon has a coupling clamps, tools for connecting with the hoses. Fire suppression assembly. The main component with the wheel-mounted fire with the extinguisher skid-mounted with the two-wheel trail with a system that's designed to apply with the dry chemical purple K until the fire with the under control with the apply with the aqueous film forming foam, creating a blanket effect. Optimal tank configuration. Each fuel unit has a 5,000-gallon collapsible fabric tank with a transfer pump with a 350 gallon per minute U with the additional storage. Fuel unit supports assembly. The assembly consists of the fuel unit with the IL-2 floodlight, set hose installation, repair assembly, displacement evacuation kit, hose line suspension kit, and spare hose line pump. Pipeline connection assembly. The pipeline connection assembly is required if the fuel with the receiver that issue the pipeline. It consists of the following major components: the switch manifold line with the Tactical Petroleum Terminal with the tank with the pipeline control for the flow in and out within the Tactical Petroleum Terminal with the contaminated fuel module consists of 50,000-gallon collapsible fabric tanks to hold contaminated fuel for blending and disposal. Transfer hose assembly. There are two 500-foot hoses with the end flake, three tricons. Each tricon has a coupling clamps. Tools for connecting of the hoses. Pipeline connection support assembly contained with the additional ISIL items: aviation fuel contamination test kit, the hose lines, the suspension kit, the displacement evacuation kit, hose line installation repair kit, liner suppression assembly. Alright, then it shows the Tactical Petroleum Terminals. Standard Tactical Petroleum Terminal. Alright, Section 2, System Quoting of the 2010 gallon fabric collapsible tanks and the 210 gallon collapsible fabric collapsible tanks. Fuel storage tank, also the BFTA with the complete with the fitting except for the emergency repair pit with the BFT with the shown in the Figure 6.3, page 6.9 for the more information. 5,000 barrel tank, see Chapter 22. 50,000 gallon fabric collapsible tank, 8 50,000 gallon fabric collapsible tanks furnished for the Tactical Petroleum Terminal, complete with the fittings, accessory, emergency repair parts, and repair items. 50,000 gallon fabric collapsible tank shown Figure 6.4, page 610. For more information, 50,000 gallon tank, see Chapter 22. 600 gallon per minute hose line pump. The 600 gallon hose line per minute pump are wheel-mounted diesel engine-driven, the self-priming, air-cooled central figure pump. The pump is closed cup with a tube to charge diesel engine, which can be operated with a manually automatically through an electrical governor. Controls regulating either the motor of the engine or the operated with the control of the panel, with the more directly over the pump. The pump and engine are mounted with a two-wheel trailer with assembly internal towing bar leveling support with a 600 gallon per minute hose line discharge head of 350 feet. Is rated 2,400 RPM with a 600 gallon per minute hose pump that is designed to transfer fuel from one tank to another. Pump fuel with the dispensing set. Pump fuel for the associated pipeline hose line system. Pump fuel for the tank vehicle receipt manifold with the tactical petroleum terminal storage tanks. They are 350 gallon per minute with a transfer pump. With 350 gallon transfer pump to be transported with the tactical tow vehicles. Short distance and long distance have been made with the transport vehicle with the pump with the contaminated fuel within tactical petroleum terminal. Pump can be easily maneuvered to acquire with the other location of and serve the Figure 6.5 and page 610 and show the 350 gallon per minute pump. For more information, the 350 gallon per minute pump shows see Chapter 10. The meter strain assembly. The 4 meter strain assemblies are aluminum single case. Positive the displacement refers to 6-inch double groove connection. Metal standard assembly with a Figure 6.6, page 611. The maximum working pressure is 150 psi. Maximum flow rate 100 gallon per minute. Large numeral reset with the counter mounted with the meter reads of the U.S. gallons. The 0 to 1,500 gallon per minute with the flow indicator is as integral part of the assembly. The strainers include with the skid mount assembly upstream of each of the meter that has 6-inch cast steel strainer, 400 mesh stainless steel basket, 6-inch double groove. The connection of the strainers have the 150 working pressure. An air release head is mounted on the strainer, with the meters and strainers are mounted together in a skid easel handling of the firm setting. 3 or 4 meters measure the fuel in the fuel units. The other is supplied with install in a hose return pipeline to user facility. Strainers are to protect meter assembly. Filter separation, 12 350 gallon filter separators in the system. Filter separators in shown Figure 611, 611. For more information, 350 gallon per minute filter separator, Chapter 21. Pressure regulating relief valve assembly. The 1 pressure regulating valve assembly of the Tactical Petroleum Terminal consists of the steel skidded mounted with 7-inch pilot operated pressure regulating valve. The valve control with not open unless upstream pressure is 50 psi above. The downstream pressure is limited to the maximum 125 psi. Pressure regulating valve assembly has 7-inch flange, 6-inch inland petroleum distribution system. Single groove adapters on each skid with the pressure gauge of the install of the control manifold to show the pressure of both the upstream and the downstream side of the valve. To protect with the pressure regulating valve with the thread debris with the pipeline of the leaf strain supply with the insert of the scraper receiver at the end of the pipeline supplying the fuel to Tactical Petroleum Terminal. Pressure regulating valve limit the pressure of the Tactical Petroleum Terminal switching manifold to the pressure 125 psi. Maintain a pipeline pressure of 50 psi above the operation 50 psi and shut down with the pressure regulating valve to supply with the power of the switching manifold supply. The 6-inch pressure control valve assembly. There are 6-inch control valve assembly with the Tactical Petroleum Terminal. These control valve with the back pressure relief valve pressure regulator set of the 30 psi of the unit is skid mounted fitted with double groove adapter of the back pressure controllers are installed with a recirculating hose from fuel dispensing assembly back to the tankage. Main dispensing pressure at a maximum of 30 psi with the control valves are supplied as part of the dispensing assembly. They're 1.5-inch pressure control valve. There are 6 1.5-inch pressure control valve system that each of the set with a 5 psi with the end fittings of the 1.5-inch cam lock. Coupling of these valves with the part of the 2 1.5-inch dispensing point. Each dispensing assembly designated primarily with the filling with a non-vented 50-gallon collapsible drums A limited loading pressure of the drums to 5 psi of the valves are supplied as part of the dispensing assembly. Fuel sampling assembly. The fuel sampling assembly with the Tactical Petroleum Terminal Figure 6.8, page 612. Consider the pipe section double groove end with a 1/2 inch tap of the line, 1/2 inch bivalve, 1 inch NATO valve with groove neck, spigot catch basin of hydrometers supplied with the fuel sampling assembly. The assembly located inlet with a switching manifold to each of the Tactical Petroleum Terminal environment periodic sample of quality control. Range poles. The Tactical Petroleum Terminal is supplied with a 36 range pole. The range poles view the roughly estimate the quantity of the fuel with the fabricated closable tanks in the Tactical Petroleum Terminal. Each fuel pool is made of the two sections with the stainless steel tubing of the nominal 1 1/8 of an inch outside diameter, nominal of 32,000 inch wall thickness. Pole of 6.5 feet long with a hardened steel point permanently fastened with the lower end of the tube pole section are locked together while with a spring catch bowl section are fitted with a two-pocket cotton duct carrying case. The tool poles are supplied with a BFTA. They are driven in the berms outside with a tank in it or a cord stretched across the tank. The cord shall be at least 6 to 8 inches up the base of the tank, which, if the full level, judging readily visible objects such as a ball to the cord of the other center of the tank and marking estimating tank easier. Nestable culverts. Either 12-inch corrugated culvert pipe hose must be routed through these nestable culvert protection from the traffic weight. Any other effects which might cause hose damage. Nestable culverts can also be used to protect the house from a rock from the ballast and cinder under the railway. Spur culverts are part of the Tactical Petroleum Terminal assembly. Floodlight set. There are 6 floodlights listed. Tactical Petroleum Terminal floodlight set with a wheel-mounted diesel engine-driven generator with an integral mounted telescoping tower with a carry for 4 high-intensity lamps. 1 second light, 7.5 tank for the generator set through the powered 7-cycle air-cooled multi-fuel engine. It carries the fuel capacity for 18 hours. The setup location of 6 there. So are determine the requirements of a particular Tactical Petroleum Terminal. Particular attention should be given to light and fuel dispensing areas. Fuel receipt areas having operating areas around the pump and the switching manifold. There is one portable petroleum aviation fuel contamination kit supplied with the Tactical Petroleum Terminal. Fire suppression equipment at each Tactical Petroleum Terminal is finished with a 19 set with a survivor suppression equipment. Each set contains a skid mount with a dry chemical with the aqueous fire foaming extinguisher, remote wheel mounted hose cart, purple K dry chemicals, light foam, Kevlar helmets and gloves, boots and trousers. Particular Tactical Petroleum Terminal layout determines wherever the fire suppression equipment is placed. Wherever locations are selected, it should be readily accessibly operated with the fire suppression crew. These locations should be clearly flagged with prominent signs. Clothing should be dry with a readily accessible to the building or container. Hose fitting and valve assembly. For the most part, with the hose, the fittings and the valves are used and interconnect with equipment described in the table of 6.1, page 63, 64, 6.2, page 635. With the pre-assembled and inconvenient units to make installation more efficient. There are 12 of the assembled Tactical Petroleum Terminal. Storage and transfer system. The equipment described previously in the section makeup of the storage transfer system described below. Installation of these components is covered in section 3 of this chapter. Tanker farm units. Tanker farm units are primary storage units of the fuel of the Tactical Petroleum Terminal. Fuel is pumped directly to the fuel dispensing assembly with the storage tank in any tank of the farm unit. Assembly fuel can be pumped from the tank of the farm unit assembly to another tanker farm assembly in the fuel unit to an associated pipeline. Hose line system is required with a particular operating area. The tanker farm unit consists of the 2 BFTAs at 1 600-gallon hose line pump, 3 6-inch aluminum stees, 7 6-inch gate valves, coupling with adapter for the 6-inch hose assembly, suction discharge to connect the components. Range of the pools provide with the estimated amount of fuel with the collapsible tanks and the maximum distance of the fuel tanking spacing. It depends on the available hose line and minimum distance by safety consideration. Hose line arrangement shown in the example. Other arrangements may be more suitable for certain situations. Contaminated fuel unit is used to store fuel that has become mixed or contaminated during the transport of the Tactical Petroleum Terminal. This includes an interface which occurs within the pipeline batching fuel water interface at the time of the internal purge and fill operation. Tank vehicle connections are provided of the contaminated product that can be transported for blending and disposal. Contaminated fuel of the unit consists of the 2 50-gallon fabric collapsible tank, 6-inch aluminum T, 350-gallon per minute pump, 3-inch ball valve assembly, loading tank vehicles, 2-inch aluminum gate valve assembly, Hose and fittings to connect components of road access is required to allow unloading of 50,000-gallon tanks with the tank vehicles. Alright, transfer hose line assembly. Transfer hose line assembly provided with a tactical petroleum terminal. Each of the assembly provided with a connection between the switching manifold, the tanker farm unit, the return manifold, the pipeline system valves. Assembly. The transfer hose line allowing switching of the fuel between the tanker farm assembly. Each transfer hose line assembly has about 23,000 feet with a 6-inch lightweight collapsible discharge hose line, 11 6-inch double groove aluminum T's, 6-inch 11 aluminum gate valve assembly, 6-inch hose line suppression kit, 12 flanking boxing assembly, 1 displacement evacuation kit, 3 6-inch double groove coupling clamp sets. The hose line provided with a flanking box with 250 foot length per box, 4 flanking boxes and stacked and embedded with a 5-gun cargo truck and flacked out continuously. Fuel dispensing assembly. 3 fuel dispensing assembly comes with each of the TAC terminal tactical petroleum terminal. Fuel dispensing assembly is used to issue the fuel for the tactical petroleum terminal. 1 fuel dispensing assembly. Each of the 3 units using a tank of the farm unit with a pumping source for the bulk holding point. The fuel dispensing assembly allows the fuel loading to the tanker truck. 5,000-gallon collapsible done with a major components of the fuel dispensing assembly include with 350-gallon filter separator, 3 probe adapter with a portable fuel contaminating test kit with a 6 loading point for the loading tank truck with a 2-gallon collapsible drum loading points about 900 feet of the hose line valve with the various sides with the connect with the components of the valve with the dispense activity. Tank vehicle receipt manifold. 3 tank vehicle receipt manifold provided with a tactical petroleum terminal valve with a hose line fitting for the necessary to allow with the offloading petroleum private with the tank vehicle. If required, bypass the line with a brown with a pump that is provided with allowing the manifold to be used with the load tank vehicles. Supplement with the fuel dispensing set with if required, with depending on the system requirement, the manifold can install with the fuel with it partially. Each manifold has 4 tank vehicle unloading the station with usually 7-inch butterfly valves, 3-inch quick disconnecting coupling, 600-gallon housing hose line pumping. 600-gallon per minute hose pumping for tactical petroleum terminal support assembly is used with each of the manifold truck unloading valve that connect with the 7-inch suction hose, which is connected 6-inch suction hose leading to the pump. Bypass around the pump is made up with a 6-inch discharge hose with 6-inch aluminum T. Assembly is for 6 and 6-inch by 7-inch aluminum T with provided with the necessary connection with the manifold to connect with the receipt manifold to the tactical petroleum terminal and with the maintain safe preparation between the components of the 250-foot length with a 6-inch hose line section from transfer hose line kit with is needed. Switching manifold control the flow of the associated pipeline to the tank farm units of the contaminated fuel line unit. Also control the flow of the tanker farm unit into the pipeline by the user facility. The unit manifold is used with 2 parts. Receipt manifold, return manifold. Receipt manifold receive the fuel of the associated pipeline tank fuel. The receipt manifold distributes the fuel and distributes the fuel to the tanker farm unit. The valve is used with the switch manifold and fold the LOL. Cuts for the batch of the different fuel arriving to the tactical petroleum terminal associated pipeline if necessary from the tank vehicle receipt manifold. Interfaces go to the contaminated fuel line with the return manifold. Receive the fuel from the tanker farm unit directs it into the associated pipeline hose line. User facility switching manifold consists of the 5-unit 6-inch 50 discharge hose, 50 double groove coupling clamp, 6-inch aluminum gate valve assembly, 9-inch 6-inch aluminum double groove T's, 4-meter skids, 1 pressure regulating valve assembly, 1 sampling assembly, 6-inch swing, single groove, double groove with adapters. On 2 6-inch single groove, double groove with adapters, you with the switching manifold, only one with the receipt manifold, the other return manifold, the other adapter that is able for you with the modification required with a certain operating area with the ideal with the switching manifold should be compatible as possible. However, with a certain situation, you may require extra length. Switching manifold setup may vary with the site condition with the requirements of optional tank configuration. Optional tank configuration can be used to replace supplemental with the normal the BFTs or the tank with the farm unit with the provided with a special storage is required. There's 1 optional tank configuration supplied with each of the tactical petroleum terminal. Each tank configuration contains up to 6 BFTA with the 6 7-inch aluminum Y assemblies, 6 7-inch aluminum gate valve assemblies, 4 7-inch aluminum T's and connections between the components of the made with the 7-inch hose line, both suction discharge Note each BFT comes with a 10-foot section, 7-inch suction hose, 7 aluminum gate valve, which are incorporated in the hose line layout. Each tank is supplied with a 4x6-inch adapter and 6-inch cam lock, double groove adapter to allow the tank to be used separately. 2 6-inch T's are provided used to be as required. Show the filter discharge tank, drain, vent, dust cap. Typical filter discharge with hose assembly, drain, 50,000 barrel tank, fabricated collapsible tank. Filter discharge tank, vent, disc cap. Typical filter discharge with hose assembly, lift handle, drain. Engine control panel, pump. This is your 350 gallon pump with a meter and strainer assembly. Tanker cover, outlet line, inlet line, filter separator liquid, fuel sampling assembly. Alright, Section 3, Tanker Farm Installation Layout. The layout requirement of the Tactical Petroleum Terminal most flexible to fit with a particular side of the surface. These arrangement are modified practical with a particular side of the objective that any of the equipment range provide the precision, safety, and operation of the general rule of the Tactical Petroleum Terminal should be the range of the maximum space between tank farm units, fuel units to the extent of that particular operating site with requirements of hose availability permit that will provide the highest level of the safety of the equipment of the operational personnel without adversely affecting the operating efficiency of the specific area. Surface requirements may also affect the layout and spacing with the detailed information from the Tactical Petroleum Terminal layout referred to TM Field Manual 5482 for typical tactical petroleum terminal layouts. Typical tactical petroleum terminal layout is shown figure 6.9 of the page 613. And the layout is example of the tactical petroleum terminal, which has arranged to make a fuel over the transfer hose line provided with a wide space between the fuel modules. Layout assume the adequate side of the property that is available with the equipment is wide space for the security reason of the known location due to the terrain and operational situation. Layout may have the difference substantially from that is shown the relatively secure area of the wind property available is limited to the appropriate range of the system with a proper closing space for the fuel unit of the equipment. Typical closed space for the tactical petroleum terminal layout is shown figure 610, page 614. The not imperative to layout taken in a straight line. The security demand of the terrain may dictate otherwise road access that should always be considered for the planning of the tactical petroleum terminal site. Ideally, there should be a limited number of entry points into the tactical petroleum terminal area, with an entry point with a heavy control of the checkpoint monitoring the route traffic in and out of the area of the road that can support with a two-way train. Vehicle traffic should run along with the parameter of the tactical petroleum terminal. The road would give access to each of the fuel unit with the fuel dispensing assembly. Fuel dispensing area of the roadway with a switch widened with a limit less 40 feet. Through traffic should be routed away from the fuel dispensing area. Similar fuel handling areas are needed with the contaminated fuel module of the tanker truck receipt manifold. Secondary road should be made with the MHE pumps, fire suppression equipment, the maintenance equipment in it to be moved under road culverts through which the hose line passes allows the vehicles to cross the hose line without damaging them. These culverts are installed with the necessary with the hose line suspension kit to be used to provide crossing under the hose line. Necessary for the hose line suspension kit must also be used to provide crossing under the hose line. Accesses must be provided with the pumps near each tanker berm. An important point shown on the general tactical petroleum terminal layout is location fire suppression equipment. Wheel mounted fire extinguisher should be located near each tank berm and each of the fuel dispensing assembly. Each of the tank vehicle receive the assembly of the contaminated fuel module. Extra units should be stationed central point ready for anywhere with the tactical petroleum terminal covered shelters. Containers and housing with the Kevlar firefighting clothing for the extra firefighting supply should be provided with a central, easily accessible location around Tactical Petroleum Terminal. 20-pound handheld fire extinguisher should be distributed located at each of the pump, each floodlight, each of the fuel dispensing area, the other operating area with the discretion of the operating supervision personnel must know where all firefighting equipment is located at all times to prevent the confusion. An emergency ready visible sign flagging location fire extinguisher would be helpful. Floodlight sets must be placed with the give of light with the fuel dispensing area, fuel receipt areas, heavy operating areas around the pumps and switch manifold. Fuel Unit A, dispensing assembly, typical 3 places. Fuel Unit B, fire extinguishers placed. Fuel Unit C, tanker truck, receipt manifold, contaminated manifold, switch manifold, pipeline, a roadway around there. Typical. Alright, this is your typical closed-space tactical petroleum terminal pipeline. Fire extinguisher placed on the discretion of the authority. The 600 meters, two-user facility. Fuel unit A, fuel unit B, tanker farm, module assembly, two 5,000 barrel tankers, typical 9 places each. Property line, fuel unit tanking. Not exactly the ones you found in the AIPD courses. Site selection. Use both aerial and ground reconnaissance for the Army. Will probably prefer a specific site of at least the desired area with which site of the tactical patrol terminal. Refer to the field manual 542 for the detailed information on the site. If there is not compatible ideal site. When picking a site, the decision must be made when evaluating a site. These factors must be considered within site selection, distribution plan. The need for the terminal and general area that can be decided only by the U.S. for the Army distribution plan. Relation for the area system, the ability to supply with the terminal with the fuel to be conserved with the will be conserved primary for the supply, hydraulics for the piping for the terminal, and most of the case for the distribution plan with the main factor for the site will cover the associated pipeline system designed to be such they can deliver to the tactical petroleum terminal site. Select the tactical petroleum terminal site side of the selector that must be able to hold the equipment the roadway is needed for the previous paragraph that discusses the site requirements, compromise, rearrangement of the equipment will often be necessary suitable with the terrain. Selected site should be reasonable to level the well drain, especially with the individual storage, loading, and unloading equipment or planned least amount of the earth moving work needed is better. The less of the better. Low sloppy earth should be avoided. The site should be as free as possible. The heavy obstruction, such as large rocks and trees, road access, if possible, the site should be located relatively near existing roadway systems capable of carrying the traffic involved that must be accessible over the road system with a new road may be needed to control connected roads. Water availability. Water must be available to the site, making available at the site. The operation must have the water available to safety reasons, even if it must be hauled to the site. Water must be available to charging with the dry chemical, air, aqua, fire foaming, wheel-mounted fire extinguisher as needed. General fire protection and personal safety layout. After site has been selected, preliminary layout should be made that shows all the major equipment of the system location, including the tank, the pump, the flood site, with the fuel dispensing area, with the tank vehicle, the receipt, with the access to the roads. Characters of the site available should be evaluated. The primary layout should be reviewed and then correcting with the needed for the final layout on which the equipment locations are firm. Final roadwork and tank pad berm construction must be also based on final layout. Alright, site preparation, earthwork, final site with the selection. Subsequently, each site with preparation, earthwork must be based on the layout discussed in the previous paragraph of the site. Probably would not be ideal, therefore must be some of the give it the take between the layout and site preparation. Result, site preparation work should be based on the grading plan that reduces cut fill operations even with the plan with the remove of the prepared into the field of the plan should be based with an actual on-site elevations, survey, observation, obstruction, and knowledge of the type of the soil that appear to be present with the first type of the prepared site with the cutting access road. The site, unless the only one already exists, stake out the area that must be clear, marked where the major components will be located, cut, grab, doze, and if necessary, blast major obstructions. For example, the tree of the boulder buildings, clear and graded area of the fuel unit will be located, transfer system and installed with the roadways built with the loading and unloading facilities installed. There must be good drainage for the site of the plan and cutouts filled with the volume. Cut soils roughly equal to the required fill or low spot tank berms roadways. If the area is very flat, requires only a minimal grading of the material of the roadway. Tanker berms that come from the burrow pit near the site with the which can, if desired, to be converted to the reserve water storage basin. Keep in mind with the major equipment, most particularly with the BFTAs, should be set on virgin cut soil if possible rather than on fill. Tankage must be located on a filled area where the fill must be compacted as is placed. Compaction after the deep fill has little effect. When extensive fill is required, the slope must be such that to prevent slides and reducing erosion. A general rule, but there should be no greater slope than 2 to 1, approximately 25% within standing lowy zones. Or your road must be fully compacted with a heavy, good drainage. If possible, they must have at least a surface of gravel, the crushed rock. Each side of the road shall have the adequate swale of the ditch for the good for the drainage. The drainage culvert should be placed within the requirement of the road swale of the ditch, and the drain culvert requirements will depend on the site of the anticipated rainfall. Road must be constructed with the permit ready, the access to all areas, installation, operating, fuel loading, unloading, firefighting. Tank pad and berm construction. Proper tank pad with the berm construction are most important to provide the tank operation protection for the spill or fire resulting from the spill. Tank pads are preferably constructed with aluminy clay soil that contains some of the sand so that smooth area can be graded with a hole in the shape. Longer slope shall be approximately 1 degree from horizontal. The low point shall be where the tank drain will end up where the tank is unrolled. Small ditch and basin with the tank drain line with the drain valve can be excavated by hand with the time with the tank with its unrolled. Low point permits the maximum pump out of the tank with the drainage from the drain line. Base of the tank pad area must be virgin cut, well compacted soil. To avoid damage of the tank bottom, straight stones and the sharp objects must be removed before the tank is installed. Berms may be constructed before and after simultaneously with the tank pad construction depending on the job conditions. Tank must be cleared of any rocks, clumps, if they roll onto the tank with the pads during the berm construction. Tank pad rough drain grading should be completed before berm construction. Should be furnished after berm construction. Preferred materials are soil with continually fairly high. Alright, clay content, holding shape, sealing berms should be compacted with construction. Alternate grade berms or sandbags, described earlier, bermed and drained with its install with the recommended with it should be laid with a hand cut through the after the first layer of the berm is placed. Before a second layer is placed, the care must be taken to avoid damage of the equipment construction within the berm. The best handle of not installing the valve until after the berm is complete, with giving the berm drain pipe plenty of cover when the drain valve is installed should be left closed and the integrity of the line of the berm has been compromised. Berm liner should be installed after the head, with the head and the berm are complete with a light layer of soil without rocks being spread over the liner, protective to hold it in place. That's the other equipment. To the extent possible, all operating equipment should be set with a virgin over the cut soils rather than fill. The filled air cannot be avoided. It must be well compacted with particular important with the pump with the flood site, the light sites. If available, the recommended the air as well, which equipment is placed to be with a coverage with a 6-inch, 7-inch light coarse gravel to crushed rock. With its gravel to crushed rock should extend out around equipment and shovel the feet with the will provide with a high dry area from. Operate, maintain the equipment over the course of the groove. Gravel to crushed rock is available to place it around often operated valve stations. Equipment installation. The second list for the equipment is recommended installation sequence. Most major equipment installed first through the major fittings of valve assembly to the interacting hose line. Transfer hose lines can be laid as soon as the location switch manifold is set up. Set up when equipment valve fittings and hoses are being installed with internal cleanliness is very important. Sand, rock, rags, tools, cloth, leaving inside with the block of the fuel flow with the damaged equipment. Leave protect with the caps and plugs into place until actually ready to make the connection. Before closing a joint, inspect the parts being assembled, remove any foreign material. Your floodlight sets. Install 6 floodlight sets for the come to the Tactical Petroleum Terminal as possible. Sufficient light must be available to the Tactical Petroleum Terminal installation. Install floodlight set according to manufacturer's manual. Location set will depend on the characteristics of the field. Your BFTA make sure tank pads are free sharp objects from smooth before the rolling out of the tanks. The drain of the tank should be located over the low spot in the pad. Top fitting into with the pump suction, one of the closest to the drain, the cut small trench. Drain hose before unrolling the end of the tank under the drain hose will pass. After cutting the trench, install the drain hose valve assembly. Serve the install the design pad that assembled all the components over the BFTAs as described in the technical manual overpack with the tank. 6 BFTAs are supplied per fuel unit, 18 tactical per 18 tactical petroleum terminal. Alright, install 50,000 gallon fabricated collapsible tanks. Install 500 gallon gallon tanks of the same with the BFTA. Service time, install the design pad. Assembly all components of IAW Technical Manual 5543021. Up to 6 tanks of optional tank configuration, 2 component contaminated fuel. 600 gallon per minute hose line pumps. Alright, 3 600 gallon per minute hose pumps come with each fuel unit with a 9 per tactical petroleum set with 1 600 gallon per minute pump core over the tank vehicle. Receive the manifold 3 with the tactical petroleum terminal. The tactical petroleum terminal comes within 3 square with a 600 gallon per minute. Pumps even needed with the ground pump when they are installed with a gallon 600 gallon per minute pumps as far as the collapsible tank as possible without deforming the tank over the top of the causing long unsuspected worded lengths of the suction hose. The suction hose should lay on the ground without straining the tank of the pump. The engine with exhaust fumes are hot. For safety reasons, keep them at a practical distance from the tank while enhance safety. Install several prepared 600 gallon per minute hose line pumps for operating with the IAW technical manual overpacked with each pump. 350 gallon per minute transfer pump with install of a 350 gallon per minute transfer pump with a contaminated fuel unit. Same preparation procedure used with a 600 gallon per minute pump. Install serve with a prepare with 350 gallon per minute transfer pump. IAW Technical 54320222614. Meter skid assembly. Insert the meter skid assembly with the supply with a per unit fuel unit supply hose line, 1 per common header associated pipeline hose line system. Serve this prepare the assembly. IAW manufacturer manuals overpacked with equipment ground. Meter skid assemblies when they are installed. Filter separators. Install serve the prepare filter separators. IAW Technical Manual 54330211112. Ground the filter separators when they are installed with the filter separator installed with each of the field dispensing assembly 9 per tactical petroleum terminal. Tanker farm unit assembly house line valve fittings following installation assembly procedure for the base and shared. Berm layout shown figure 611 to 618 position crates containing the T-sum pump assembly gate valve near the restricted insulation site around the fabricated collapsible tanks. Remove 6-inch aluminum T-gate valve with adapters, coupling clamp, coupling gasket from the crates. Inspect all items damaged, cleanliness with quantities required. All mating surfaces with the adapter gate valve and T's. Note when installing coupling clamp with the gasket, liberally apply with grease to the gasket inside of the surface of the coupling clamp to prevent pinching during the installation of the pull of the coupling gasket over the one groove at the end of the each mating surface. Ensure the gasket is properly positioned over the full circumference hole sealing surface of the position of the coupling clamp over the gasket, maintaining alignment with the main part of the lock of the coupling clamp. Securely make sure all hose line fittings and valves are cleaned internally. Foreign materials may stop operation, damage equipment. Match point A to transfer hose line dispensing assembly. BFTA, BFTA1, T1, T2, berm. Match point C from the hose line for the receipt switching manifold. Match point B from the transfer hose line dispensing assembly. Alright, check the position of the 600 gallon hose line pump with the plan created for the hose line and fitting to the near of the respective installation position. Uncreate with the position 6-inch discharge hose assembly. Remove the dust cap, connect with a 5-inch suction hose gate valve assembly to the tank elbows. Connect coupling adapter for the gate valve to connect the 6-inch suction hose between the coupling adapter for the gate valve assembly. Connect 6-inch suction hose with the T-assembly with the inside of the pump assembly. Connect 6-inch discharge hose between the outlet side of the pump assembly and with the gate valve. Connect 6-inch gate valve with the transfer hose line. Connect coupling adapter to tank elbows. Connect with the 6-inch discharge hose between the coupling adapter's gate valve and assembly. Inspect all connection with the verify correctly installation coupling cups, lamps, and coupling gaskets. Secure all cam lock devices. Our contaminated fuel unit hose line valve with the fittings of the following assembly installation procedure of the base and the contaminated fuel module layout with to make sure all hose line fittings of the valve are cleanly internal with the foreign materials may stop with the operation damage equipment connecting the elbow to the outlet port with the 50,000 gallon tank with the connect with the 6x7-inch producers for the elbow. Connect with the coupling adapter to do the 6-inch 7-inch producers install with the 6-inch discharge hose between the coupling adapter to the gate valve assembly. Connect the gate valve with the 6-inch T with the connect the 6-inch discharge hose between the 6-inch T with the beginning with the train for the hose line. Connect the elbow with the inlet port to 50,000 gallon tank. Connect 7-inch suction hose with the tank elbow 7-inch gate valves. Connect 7-inch suction hose line suction side with 350 gallon per minute transfer pump. 7-inch gate valve with assembly. Connect 7-inch discharge with the discharge side with the transfer pump. Connect 7x3-inch reduce with 3-inch ball valve with assembly. 7-inch discharge hose. Inspect all connection to verify with the correct insulation flange coupling gasket clamps and security cam lock coupling. Transfer hoses line assembly valve with the fittings. One transfer hose line assembly supply with each of the fuel unit with the area assembly tractor petroleum terminal transfer hose line set assembly created partially with assembled conditionally easily packaging with the shipping. Some assembly with the required with the plate with the T with the gated valve assembly with the operating condition with the before installation valve with the installation procedure with the base of the transfer hose line assembly. Layout, make sure the hose line and fittings of the valve are cleanly internal. Foreign materials and may stop the operation and damage of the equipment. Position created with the containment 6-inch T with the valve solid assembly near respective installation. Remove 6-inch T and 6-inch aluminum gate valve assembly coupling clamp for the coupling gaskets for the crate. And inspect all items with damage cleanliness the quantities required with tighten flange adapt with the gate valve. Be careful not to damage the gasket. Connect with the gate valve with the T's. Connect with the needed quantity with the transfer hose line with the twin with the outlet. Pour with the meter strain with the T's. During with the tactical petroleum terminal is available to transfer a hose line with will be supplied with the 250 lengths of the store within the flagging box of the 600-foot length, the strobe of the hose reel. Inspect all connection and verify with the correct installation with the flange coupling gasket clamp with the screw to cam lock devices. Fuel dispensing assembly with dispensing is supplied with each of the fuel unit with their three tactical control and terminals. Make sure all hose line fittings and valves are cleanly internal with the foreign materials may stop operation and damage equipment. Install with the coupling and clamp of the gasket. Liberally apply with grease of the gasket inside of the strip of the coupling clamp to prevent the pinching of the during the installation coupling bubble. The coupling gasket over the one groove, the end of each of the mating joint. Strip of the gasket is properly positioned over the full circumference of the ceiling. Strip of the position of the coupling clamp over the gasket. Maintain the alignment of the mating part. Let coupling clamp securely. To position of a 350-gallon per minute filter separated connecting 6x6x4 with reducing T. Adapter 7-inch dispensing hose, 7-inch gate valve with adapter for the inlet side of the filter separated. Connect with the adapters. Water detection kit adapter, 7-inch gate valve, 7-inch dispensing hose adapter, 7-inch 6x6x4. Reducing valve to the outlet filter separators. Connect 6-inch discharge hose with a 6-inch 6x6x4 inch reducing T. Connect 6-inch ball valve. Assemble the 6-inch discharge hose. First 6x6x4 reducing tees install 7-inch dispensing hose with a 7-inch butterfly valve with a 7-inch adapter connection of reducing tees. 2 remaining tees with connect the adapter with the 7-inch 2-inch reducers to the 6x6 and 4-inch tee with a connect with the 2x2 with the 1 1/2-inch reducer with the 7-inch 2-inch reducer. Connect 1 1/2-inch ball valve with the 2 1 1/2-inch reducers. Connect 1 1/2-inch pressure control valve with a 1 1/2-inch ball valve. Install the 1 1/2-inch dispensing hose outlet ported pressure control valve. Inspect 1 1/2-inch ball valve with the end of the 1 1/2-inch dispensing hose. Connect 6-inch ball valve with the last reducing T. Connect 6-inch pressure control valve with the 6-inch ball valve. Inspect all connections. Verify correct installation flange, coupling gasket clamps, security cam lock devices. Note, liberally apply grease to the gasket inside strip of the coupling clamp to prevent the pinching of the during the installation. Pull coupling gasket over the groove of each of the mating joint. Ensure gasket is properly positioned over the full circumference of the ceiling strip of the position of the coupling clamp over the gasket, maintaining alignment with the painting lock. The coupling clamp securely. Tank of vehicle receipt manifold hose line fitting valve fittings. T-assembly with the tank of vehicle receipt manifold graded partially assembled the condition of the facility packaging and shipping. Some assembly is required to play for the unit in operating condition prior to installation. Make sure all hose line fittings and valves are cleanly internally formed. Materials may be disrupt the operation and damage equipment. Following installation procedure based on the tank of vehicle receipt manifold shown in figure field manual 5482. Position crate with the tank of vehicle receipt manifold component with respect to the installation position. Remove the components from the crates required. Check position with 600-gallon per minute hose line pump. Check with the 6-inch T with the 6-inch gate valve with the discharge hose assembly. Connect these two with the discharge side of the pump. Connect the 6-inch suction hose to the suction side of the pump. Connect the 6-inch gate valve to one leg of the T with the connect with the 6-inch discharge hose to the gate valves. Position connecting of the 2 remaining T's. Install the 2 and 6-inch gate valve. Connect the suction hose to the 6x6 and 4-inch T's. Connect the coupling adapter to the T fitting that connects the 7-inch suction line hose to the coupling adapter. Connect 7-inch butterfly valve with the suction hose. Connect 6-inch caps on the T fittings. Connect 7x3-inch reducers to the butterfly valve switching manifold. Alright, the following assembly installation procedure for the base for the switching manifold shown on the figure 5482 to make sure all the hose line fittings of the valve with the cleanly internally formed materials may disrupt operation and the damage equipment. The position of the crate containing the 6-inch aluminum T's, 6-inch gate valve with a 6-inch sampling assembly, 6-inch ball valve with hose assembly and meter skid assembly, pressure regulating valve. Assembling near the respective installation site with the indicator of the revolve. Remove the T of the valve, the hose line, pressure regulating valve assembly, sample assembly, meter skid assembly, adapters, coupling clamp with the coupling gasket from the crate. Inspect all items with the damaged cleanliness quantities quicker. Connect 6-inch teeth together with the conform the configuration shown in figure 5482. A field manual connect with the great gate valves, ball valve assembly for the T with the connect with the discharge hose with the between the gate valve with the meter strain assembly as well with the between the T and the meter strain with the return manifold. Connect the fuel sample assembly for the C shown in figure field manual 542. Some of the cases hose made between the sampling assembly switching manifold. Install pressure regulating valve assembly with the pipeline switching manifold upstream of the fuel sample assembly. The director for the operating authority 6-inch IDS single groove pipe with the supply with the associated pipeline. If the system does not involve the associated pipeline, the feed line hose or pipe that can be tied directly into the pressure regulator with all downstream conduity of the NB hose line. Caution: upstream back pressure from the downstream reducer pressure. Pressures are preset with an intent with a 50 psi upstream with a minimum 125 psi downstream. They do not be bypass upstream downstream pilots without supervisor instruction. Bypass downstream pilot can result in the pressure reducing pressure for the control setting with the operating approval authority. On the return manifold, connect with the discharge hose between the outlet side of the meter string with a single with a double groove adapter. Inspect all connections to verify the correct installation flange, coupling gasket clamps, street cam lock devices. Alright, optional tank configuration, hose line valve fittings. The valve assembly installation procedure based on the optional tank configuration. Make sure all hose fittings and valves are clean internally with the foreign materials made to disrupt operation damage equipment. Connect the elbows to 50,000 gallon tanks. Connect 7-inch suction hose line to the elbows. Connect 7-inch suction hose line assembly to the 7-inch suction hose line assembly to the wireless assembly. The correct hose line is installed with the position shown. Make sure the correct bending radii are maintained. Connect 7-inch suction hose between the 7-inch T's assembly Y assembly. Connect the reducer coupling adapter to the T hose. Connect with the T to the reducer. Connect the elbow to the tank. Connect the 7-inch discharge hose assembly to the 7-inch gate valve assembly. Install Y assembly 7-inch gate valve inside 7-inch discharge hose between Y assembly 7-inch T assembly. Connect the reducer 7-inch T. Connect the coupling adapter to the reducer. Connect the T to the adapter. Inspect all connection correcting inflation flange coupling gasket clamp security for the all cam lock devices. Fire suppression equipment to check for the truth of the install of the fire suppression equipment with the overpacked instruction manual with the specific instruction for the operating management. Wheel mounted dry chemical AFFF units shall be located where they can be readily put into the server of the full storage unit. Full dispensing set switch manifold contained with the fuel module for the tank vehicle with the offloading air with the U.S. Marine Technical Manual 07666. US 7661B141 contains instruction on the dry chemical AAFFF unit with the 20-pound fire extinguisher should be placed in accordance with the direct operating authority recommended with the one placed near all the pump floodlight loading spot with the placement of the extra extinguisher with specifically located with it should be just outside of the immediate operating area visibility location. Caution: through check out with the air, all fire suppression equipment at the time of the location and the unit of the extinguisher equipment must be charged with the working order. Clothing must be clean and the good condition. Clear the marking storage area for this fire suppression equipment. Educate all personnel on the location of the use of the fire bringing flammable fuels in any part of the system. Safety and non-smoking sign with the prayer install with appropriate safety and non-smoking sign with the designated location specific site with no smoking is allowed 50 feet in the system. Equipment containing flammable fuels set with the non-smoking sign with just outside of the boundary area with the non-smoking signs around with the fuel dispensing fuel receipt area. Minimize the threat of the smoke. Create a well marked smoking with the permitted area well away from this facility. Make the only area where the smoking is permitted. The area should not be lower than or downwind the fuel hand area. So set up the shut off engine off. Sun fuel dispensing and receiving the area. Set up the disconnecting hose before moving the vehicle signs. Dispensing and receiving area of the place the following safety signs and appropriate locations. Danger, hostile for the pump engines. Danger, moving parts, pump engines. Danger, wear gloves and goggles. Sample position, watch your step in the congested area. Pressure test system, tactical petroleum terminal system, particularly with a hose system, should be pressure tested before it's played for the operational purpose of the test to prove the integrity of the system, locating leaks, blockage for the installing faults. This is not to prove the strength of the material, therefore the test pressure is limited to the maximum design operating pressure. Complete test is recommended, however, it is understood that some of the deviation may be reduced due to the specific site condition immediately operating needs of the extent of the pressure setting with the test medium of the operating authority. Test medium test can be conducted within the air, water, or fuel. The medium with the U, dependent on the conditions, specifically site with the installation operation management. The decision from the safety standpoint, water test for the safety medium. However, the concern with the disadvantage of the difficulty of removing all the water from the system. Air test should not be conducted at the pressure of the 50 psi, but therefore cannot be used to locate leaks. Occur with a high pressure. The fuel test can be handled if and care has been taken. The method will serve time considerable and adequate for the fuel pressure test is conducted. It can be handled in conjunction with a purge commission program. After the test medium has been decided the line is to be tested and filled with the bringing the test pressure of the hole long enough. Thoroughly inspected the system of the leaks and follow the test pressure of the taken off the system of the leak and involved the correction of the system must be retested. After the corrections are made, a longer period of the holding system and the test pressure may be adopted with the discretion of the operation and installation authority. Alright, your maximum test pressure. The testing of the locating leaks, the loose of the connection of the blockage of the system, the flaw of the construction testing will prove the integrity of the facility prior to the regulator operation. Regular operation test pressure listed below the at least less than maximum pressure. Operating authority may designate low pressure within their option when the testing fabric collapsible tanks no pressure is allowed other than the static liquid head plus the 10 psi. Make sure the tank vent is open and clear. The tank must be filled with approximately 85% of the design capacity of the fuel. All inlet outlet valves must be closed and then blanked out and inspect for leaks. If any leaks develop, the tank must be emptied and repaired. Tank refilled, inspected for the leak of the section of the pipeline connected with the suction hose that are being tested. The high pressure of the suction hose must be blanketed off and tested separately. Pressure tests must be performed using water, fuel, and air with the maximum test pressure of the 7-inch pump with a smaller discharge hose with the valve fitting to the 150 psi when testing water or fuel. The maximum test pressure for the suction hose of the 150 psi when testing water and fuel. Maximum test pressure when testing the air 50 psi at 7 inches of the pump smaller than the discharge hose valve fittings on the suction hose. Maximum test pressure for the 6-inch pump discharge and transfer hose valve fittings are. Note certain fittings are rated to 75 psi maximum. These items are not exposed to test pressure for the above 75 psi with the insulated removed during the test. Test pressure source. Test pressure supplied with the air, any source capable of holding test pressure. 600 gallon per minute hose line pump suitable to testing in the water for fuel. The air compressor must be available to proceed with the air pressure test. All tests made water fuel with incompatible with the particular fuel service for which the system is intended must be drained from the system before it is placed in service. Caution: under no conditions air pressure test to be the fabric collapsible tanks. Remove all connection hoses of the tank to prevent this of the pumping air into the fabric tank can exceed the tank venting and the capacity to inflate with a possibility of rupture of the tank. Alright, preparation for testing. Both the tests of the gun action should be taken to ensure that the test runs smoothly. Be sure that there is sufficient gas to repair equipment and is available local fire suppression equipment near the testing area, but may be sure they will be operating condition with the test with the fuel, make sure that they have the tank fuel with the drum available. In the case of the section of the drain, the high ends have shovel and material available to dig and line a pit with the case of the break and the spill. When test is fuel, they have the collapsible available to blank off section under test of the valve. The system may be used with the isolate hose with the selection necessary. After technical patrol and terminal equipment, hose and valve and the fittings are physically connected. There should be a meeting of all the responsible personnel connected with the testing program. Each phase testing plan included with the communication plan, which should be discussed and reviewed prior to the filling of the section of the test. Final check should be made with to verify all valve hose in proper position. For filling, all hose valve fitting connection tight and valve with the packing gland are tight. Pumps are in good working condition. Alright, fuel test procedures. Adjust valve to see that the fuel pump could be through section under tested exhausting air. Slowly pump the fuel into the system, not exceed the flow rate 200 gallon per minute. When all air is evacuated, close the dish out of the valve to fill the section of the fuel with the sump of the pump. Stop the pump, check all the connections for the leaks. If no leaks with the found, with the start of the pump, the rate of the pressure 25 psi. Stop the pump, check the gauges. If no leaks are found with the gauges are okay, start the pump and rate of the pressure with the selected test pressure. Stop the pump, check for the leaks, and then hold the test pressure for the period long enough to inspect the entire system under the test. Leaks are found will relieve the pressure for the drain leaking section to make repairs and adjustment of the replacement necessary. At the point pressure of the section again with the test of the repairs made. Culverts. Install the culverts or road crossing with the hose line cross over the under the vehicle traffic. Is plan erected sign of the versing with the driver of the crossing with its point with the place of danger hose line crossing signs. When they are needed, hose lines could be easily damaged. The vehicles crossing here, them, these are well covered. Culverts installed with the traffic is expected. The permits no vehicle to become cross unprotected hose. Hose line suspension set. Install suspension set of the road crossing small streams. Other area of the nestable culvert may be not used. Range poles. Each BFTA is supplied with a 2 range pole with 36 tractor patrol and terminal. Install a range pole and the cords at all BFTA sites. The paint system. Paint all metal parts that have not been previously painted and anodized the acceptable standards of the have been deteriorated. Shipment and storage of the prepared surfaces and applied primer with a quarter mil T704 type A finish coat mil AE5279 8I type A1 sand color. Equipment line identification number. Make all major equipment of the tank, the pump, the pipe, meter stream, the filter, separators, operating valve, of the pump, pressure gauge, of the equipment identification number, the efficiency of the safe, the operation equipment of the large enough, the surface should be stencil painted using a color with a contrast well with the background. Small valves and other small equipment can be marked on the metal strips bearing equipment number and wired in place. They should be done after the installation to make sure the number is correct. And number is correct. Consider marking hose line piping with the color-coded bands and direction flow with arrows described in Military Standard 161. Care must be taken to correct with marking if the surface is marked and section of hose is changed. Area cleanup. The installation personnel must clean up the area prior to starting the operation. They must remove all the construction drags, obstruction boxes, unused materials, hose fittings, and likes should be stored in a specific area for the first reuse. All dust caps and plugs should be boxed and marked used for use in the event of the system is disassembled for shipment. The ISO container supplied with the Tactical Petroleum Terminal and the ISIL partly may be even the need for this purpose. Final inspection is more important to make the final inspection. You the checklist, arrange the essential in the order of the initial procedure that should be done with the supervisor or management personnel from both the installation operating group. The following inspection points should be emphasized: integrity, height of the tank of the berms, clove of the bram, drain valve, floodlight location, operational grounding, fabric, collapsible tank layout, connection pump location, operatable, serve the grounding, meter stream flow direction, grounding fillers, rear flow, separator flow direction, test adapter, insulation grounding, hose line valve of the fittings and couplings, closed with the flange type of the valve, packing glands type of the valve in the operable position, closed. No sharp bends, proper lay on the tank top of the hand bags on free ends of the bends for the such to whip in general condition of the hose line, sand peeling assembly in operable location, joint tight, valves closed and grounding, fire suppression, equipment in charge of the readily operable proper location, safety, no smoking sign readable, the proper location, remove the pressure test result of evidence of a correction of the activity. Action, road crossing protection, culvert, suspension devices in places where needed. Range poles installed properly, well corded at corrected height, corrected painting complete. Equipment identification marking corrected, adequate, and portable fuel test kit intact. Cleanup area adequate. Correct the faults found in the inspection, then re-inspect. Do not proceed with the operations until all points affecting integrity and safety of the system are corrected. Alright, section 4, terminal operations. We're gonna try to cut the tape there.